And okay, everyone, thank you so much for coming. And I'm Dorothy. I'm going to be the host for Nathalie's session. And Nathalie is one of the mentees studying under Heather. And together with her were Rachel and Mabel. So I'm very, very pleased that today you're going to meet her. She's a very beautiful lady. And I met her last year not last year, at the beginning of the year in Symbiosis I. And Nathalie really impressed me when she said that, she wants to share copper plate with the world. She wants to share with her countrymen because, in her country, not many people are exposed to this script. And then, we connected over the social media. I invited her to join the program. And I'm very thankful, very grateful that she has agreed. And then it has been, I think, Nathalie, quite a ride for you. So today, let's hear from her as she shares with us, her journey. Take it away, Nathalie.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, Dorothy, for letting me be part of this. We actually met during a factory class. Yeah, and I used to join earlier all the time, and so we would chat and that's how we got to know each other. So it's funny how, I was doing that, just going in early to talk a little bit, even though I'm not that type of person because I'm an introvert, but I don't know, I did it and it led to this. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for you and this opportunity. So to get started, I will talk a little bit about me. And Dorothy, keep me in time because I'm not seeing the clock and I could go on for hours. So first, just about me and my family, my country. I live in Costa Rica. Well, first, my name is Nathalie, but in Spanish, it is pronounced Nathalie, but that's a little hard to pronounce for some people, so Nathalie is fine. I'm 31 years old. I was born in Costa Rica and have lived here all my life. That is something that I love. Being here in this country, I wouldn't change it for anything else. I love to to go to other places, but the nature here is wonderful. And one of my favorite things to do is to go on hikes and I take trips with my family. My family is super important, so that's why I put them there. I have this big, beautiful family. I have 4 nephews. I have 3 cats and 2 dogs right now. So it's like a zoo in my house. But it is really nice, and they make my life very happy. What else? I really like photography, especially like nature photography. So whenever I'm outside, I always have my camera. So that's also like one of my passions. So now I will move into like my calligraphy journey. However, it has started with lettering. So I will tell you a little bit about that. So this is the ugly pictures that we don't want anyone to see ever. And funny enough, I took 3 of these from my personal Instagram stories. I posted them, very, very proud of myself back then. The only one that I didn't post was this first one, the one that says Mamita. So this was on 2018, and I found this world of lettering and like brush pens. And without much research, I just purchased a couple of brush pens, a huge Tombow one that's definitely not for beginners, and then a smaller one. And I just gave it a try, and I didn't even like went to YouTube for tutorials or anything. It was just me fooling around with it and trying to like replicate images from Pinterest. And that one, the first one, I found it a few days ago that I went to work and they gave me some stuff that I had left on the office. And that is like the first thing I wrote. Like I got those supplies when I was at work. So I was just testing them. And it's funny the way I didn't connect the M to the A. It's so weird. But I don't know. I love seeing pictures like this and remember the beginnings. But back then I did this for like a few months and I didn't like the results. I wasn't doing progress because I wasn't trying to learn from anyone. I wasn't looking for a course or a tutorial. I was doing it very like by myself and it wasn't going well. And I just got bored and frustrated with it. And I would like pick up the pen every once in a while, but it didn't really clicked with me at that moment. So I just left it there as something that I liked, but that I wasn't good at. And then on 2020, my sister won a lettering class and she's not even interested in that. She was just following this guy from Costa Rica that does like muralism, and he had like this little contest and she participated and got the class. And she just told me like, you have to be there with me because I don't even care about it. So just sit next to me. They won't know you're there and take the class. And so I did. It was a 5 hours class. And I loved it because he didn't have brush pens. And I was like afraid of brush pens. He had a pencil and he taught us how to create letters with that. Like any font works for lettering. You don't have to do only like brush pen calligraphy. And that kind of opened things for me. Like, okay, then I can still work on that skill, but it's not all I need. I can learn fonts and shadows and other things. And that day I did the first image, the one with the ice cream. I did that composition during the class. And after that, I just started doing lettering and I was really liking it. That's how my page started, my Instagram. It was all about this type of work. That was on July of 2020. And then I found those videos of pointed pen calligraphy. And that changed things. Like, what is that? That looks so beautiful, so delicate, elegant. And I just knew I had to try it. So with that one, well, I did join a class. I knew I had to join a class. I couldn't figure that out by myself. So luckily I found Young E, that is Logos Calligraphy, that she's left-handed. And I thought like, that's perfect because that looks difficult. So I think that a left-handed artist will be perfect for me. So I joined her class. But a funny story is that before the class, I went to purchase the supplies and all they had was the nibs. They didn't have the holder, just nibs and ink. And I knew I needed the pen holder, but it wasn't available at the moment. So I purchased what they had, ink and nibs. And I came home, and I don't know if anyone ever did that. I don't think so, because they always have pen holders. But I came home and I took the nib and I dipped it into the ink. And I tried like doing lines with it. I was like, I need to see how this thing works. I need to understand it. I couldn't wait. So I was there by myself having a lot of fun with the little nib that I could barely bake and use. So I remember doing like a few lines and I was like, okay, this definitely is never going to work. So I quickly got the pen holder and got into the course. This first picture is like that first homework that she assigned, and I really like it. The letters are all wonky, but you know, again, it's like that beginning, the start of something new and exciting. So that was on December, and throughout that year, I just dedicated myself a lot to copperplate and learning and getting better at it. That picture of me, my brother took that without me knowing. And that represents that year for me, because I at first I didn't have like a desk inside my house that was like suited for like writing with good lighting or anything like that. So I would always just take this table outside and write outside in the garden. And that was me all weekend writing outside. Sometimes, you know, things would fly on my paper and destroy everything.
Sorry, Natalie. Natalie, sorry, can I just pause you for a moment?
Yeah.
Are all of you able to see her sharing her screen? You are able to? Okay, I just wanted, because some of you, somebody messaged and said they cannot see the photo. So, all right, please carry on, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like a picture that I feel represents a lot of that moment, like the excitement of learning something new, going every day to explore. Then I also took that fracture class that connects with where we are now, because that's where I met Dorothy. And so I put here a little photo of that. And then something very exciting is that that year I started teaching copperplate. So I can talk a little bit about Costa Rica and copperplate and all of that here. So when I became interested in learning this type of calligraphy, I couldn't find teachers in Costa Rica at all. Later, I found like 3 people that use the pointed pen, but they do mostly like their own like modern styles. There is absolutely no one teaching any scripts like Spencerian or copperplate or anything like that, or like broad edge scripts like fracture and those things. Like nobody is teaching that, or it's still, well, now I'm teaching it, but back then there was absolutely no one. So one of my goals is definitely to teach others and to kind of spread the love that I have for calligraphy on my country. And I think that I'm very blessed that I speak English and that I can join these type of things and go to those classes. But here, even though the country has become like very bilingual because of call centers and all of that, there is still a lot of people that don't speak English, or that are too nervous to go into something like that and you know, speak or have to understand. So I feel like I can make that connection between all of this knowledge that is out there and my country, and kind of share that with them. So I have been doing only copperplate classes so far. That picture was from the very first one. Even one of the girls on that class is teaching. So I love that, because, you know, that's how it spreads. You know, it's not like I will teach everyone. So, you know, little by little, I hope people will know about it. More people will know what it is and will know the effort that goes behind it, and, you know, will appreciate it. So that was like that first year. Or actually second year, but it feels like the first one because it is when I truly like deep into calligraphy. And then on 2022, this year, I started exploring more stuff. I took a class on flourishes. I did imperial script. I started engraving and taking like commission work for weddings and stuff like that. I took a Madras class this year as well. So it was more of a time to have fun and explore and learn new things. And at the same time, you know, work with Heather on the mentoring and explore a lot more in there. So I will move to that now. The mentoring journey, the screen got stuck on my end. Do you guys see it? Yeah. Okay. So starting with the mentoring journey, I will just go through a few pictures of what I did during the mentoring. I keep seeing it stuck, but then, yeah, there you go. So one of my goals for the mentoring was to just do stuff that was more complex, that would take me longer, because I feel like with Instagram, I got into this content mode, you know, not art, like creating something with time and, you know, processing an idea for days until I actually had what I wanted. I was in Instagram mode, creating 3 posts a week. So on the weekend, maybe on one day, I would just create 3 things to post, maybe a video and a picture. And, you know, like I got into that loop where if I had an idea on my mind that would take me longer than a day or two, that wasn't going to happen. Nobody has time for that. So I wouldn't really pursue like these things that would make me grow more, but that would take me longer. So I wanted to kind of break that, careless about the whole Instagram thing and just focus on me, on growing on my art. So I wanted to that, like do stuff that was a little more time consuming, and also explore watercolors. I did very little watercolor before. So I wanted to go more into that. So the very first piece that I did was that first one with the quote. And that was just me trying to explore watercolors and doing like a bit of a longer text than just like one word or something like that. And with that one, Heather showed us like a bunch of different layouts and ideas of how you can do a composition, because this was very standard, you know, like a corner here, and a center text. You know, it's like recipe art, but she was telling us like to expand ourselves, try to think outside the box, do other things. So I began to think about it and try to do stuff that was a little different. Well, here I did this fairies piece that was inspired by that flower that I think it's like a fairy house. Those flowers are here in my garden, so I was very inspired by them. And here I did a little combination of copper plate and Madras that I was learning that at the time. And this one was also the first time that I used the like Daniel Smith watercolors. Heather recommended a sample of those, and that sample has taken me a long way. I have used it so much, and I was using it for the first time there. And then here I was exploring something completely different, like trying to do like creatures, like a butterfly, an owl. There I did like a human figure. So I was exploring other things that I could do with my art instead of like focusing only on the letters, but to, you know, try to express myself in other ways. And when I did that, that one with the butterfly, I really wanted my gilding supplies. I was like, this needs to be gilded. It doesn't look good enough, like it doesn't pop. And at that moment, I already had like an order, but it was taking months for that thing to get home. So I still have that idea that I will see if I can go over it and gild that or some parts of that piece, because I really like it, but I feel like the watercolor doesn't really make it pop. But well, that at that moment, I really wanted to use the gilding supplies. And so in this next one, I finally had them in my hands. So Heather recommended us to start using miniatum ink for gilding. So I purchased the miniatum ink and the gold leaf. And I also went over some of Heather's previous lessons, like classes, for like the gilding vine and the alphabet garden. She gave us some of those handouts. So I studied that, and that one with the like the vine is the first like piece that I did, like my very first little gilded baby. And I then did like those two letters, the E and the A, for some like Mother's Day cards. And then I began to study more about the whole illuminated letters world. And I did those two, the G and the J. And those two actually inspired one of my pieces for the exhibition. I really loved like the entire process and kind of the freedom that you can have when designing these letters. You know, anything goes. It can be super saturated or super simple, and everything just works because it is your own expression of art. So I really liked that style and wanted to just continue exploring that. And now we will move to the exhibition. So I will go over over my three pieces and talk a little bit about them. How much time do I have left? Am I good?
Yeah, you're good. You have
Yeah.
until the end of the hour, so you have like yeah, good time.
Awesome. Okay, so with the exhibition, I will start with this one. This is the Hummingbird Exploration. And this piece is about the flowers of Costa Rica. So I wanted to kind of dedicate one of my pieces to the beauty of the country. And, you know, since it is my biggest inspiration, I felt like it was going to be really nice for me to put that into the paper and to design letters with it. So I chose the hummingbird because in my house, or I don't know if it's in all the country, but there are hummingbirds all year long, all day. Like I see them every day. They come to my window every day. So the hummingbird for me is just, I don't know, something important that if I ever like live in another country and I see a hummingbird, it will immediately take me back to my country. So I wanted to have kind of a journey where the hummingbird is taking us through different places and showing us like all of these pretty flowers. So I did the calla lily in the N, then I have the bird of paradise in the L, the anthurium is on the C, and the fuchsia is on the K. And then on the center, I put this orchid that we call it Guaria morada, and that is the national flower of Costa Rica. So that's why it is in the center. And here I have some close-ups of that. In the L and the N, I did a technique that Heather taught us that is called like an illusionistic technique. And what we did there was to just put like a layer of a brown watercolor, in this case was yellow ochre. And then I put 2 layers of golden watercolor to give it like that effect. And then I use some shadows as well. So I really liked using that technique. And it was a risk because I had never done it. I just saw Heather doing it. And then I put these letters together and there was no way back. At the moment I painted that, the gilding was there, like everything was ready. So it had to work and I'm glad it did. And then I will show a little bit about my process. So this first page shows just my first sketches of flowers. I was just going through Pinterest, finding flowers that I could incorporate, and I just drew them to see what worked. And then I started designing, and actually in this page, I was doing like 4 designs, but only one of them is on the final piece. Only one make the cut. The other ones, I didn't like them so much, but they were still, you know, like fun explorations. And then on the next page, I continued designing, and I did use all of those. And then here, I transferred that design to the graph paper to just like make sure everything was well, you know, with good measurements and in the way I needed it for the final piece. Then here we have the piece with ink, and the miniatum ink was actually already dried at that point. And then I put on the gold leaf. So that is like that last portion of pictures. Then I'm seeing my screen is stuck again. There you go. So then here I wanted to show this picture, which is just me planning colors on the iPad. I struggle with colors, like with picking colors for my pieces. And maybe that's also what makes me sometimes go for simple things that I can just do in one color, because I just struggle with it. I don't know, it's something I kind of get blocked and I don't know what colors to choose. So doing this exercise was really good. I actually took the idea from Mabel because she did it for her piece. Like she showed us that she had put the colors in the iPad first, and I was like, that is so smart. I have to do that. Like, why would I just jump in without knowing if things work together? So I did that, and it's funny that at the end I changed a lot of the colors, but it was like the same color palette. I feel like the process helped me decide on my colors, and then as I was painting, I made some adjustments, but at the end it was like the same palette. So that's it for the Hummingbird Exploration. Then there you go. This is my love piece. This is based on the song by Nat King Cole called Love. This song doesn't really represent anything special for me. It's just a song that I really like. I have always liked that song, and when I learned copperplate, I wanted to write it. Like it was, I had this on my mind, but I just never got into like actually creating it. I knew it was going to be like a larger piece. That was going to take me longer, so I never really went for it. and with this entire journey, it felt like something that I could do, that I could explore. And also I learned this style of acanthus leaves and putting them into the letters and all of that. So it felt like the acanthus leaves were like the perfect match for this song, because they are sort of like romantic, and the whole style felt like it matched very well with the lyrics of the song. So that's why I went for this type of initial for this one. Here I have like some close-ups. There are some little tulips that you can barely see on the details. And that is just a story of my mom and dad, that they would give tulips to each other. So the tulips are kind of representative of love for me. So I added some of those in there. And here are these sketches. I actually did a sketch before this, but I don't have a picture of it. And then I moved it to the graph paper, and I did the text here. This one was difficult to fit into the paper because this was the bigger paper I had. And this was like days before the deadline. So I didn't have time to go like purchase something bigger, and it didn't fit. When I first went to transfer my sketch, it wasn't fitting into the paper. So that was a bit of a struggle there, but I made it work. And actually here I was in the wrong slide. So here is the moment when I just inked the letters, then the miniatum ink, the gilding, and first stages of painting the initials. And then I went over the same activity to try to plan my colors on the iPad, and also like the detail that I wanted to do with watercolor. And here it was supposed to be like all turquoise, but then I felt like I needed something to, I don't know, like brighten the composition. So I did this little test with orange, and I just went for it and painted the piece like that with those colors. And then the last one is the P. This piece is called We Are Better Together. And the P stands for papi, which is like daddy in English. So this piece, I did it at the last minute. I had already finished the pieces that I had on my mind that were the previous two. And as I was actually like doing the golden details on the last one, this one came into my mind. and I couldn't say no. I had to try it. I was during that week like seeing a lot of images of initials, and I saw many that had, you know, like people, like creatures, or this type of art inside. And it looked really nice, but it didn't look like something I could do. So on that day, you know, I had already finished what I wanted to present. So I felt very free to just give it a try, you know, and I feel like that helped because I wasn't worried about getting it right. I was just like, I'll wing it. And if it works, then I could present it. And if it doesn't work, then I learned something. So I just went for it with this one. This piece is first, I would say it is inspired by the song We Are Better Together by Jack Johnson. I don't know if any of you have heard that song, but it talks about sitting beneath the mango tree. And my dad and I used to spend hours sitting beneath the mango tree in our home. We would spend a lot of time there in the garden, just eating fruit and looking at nature. And back on 2014, he got very sick, and he passed away on 2014. And during that time, this song just became a thing for us. Like, I would put it for him, and he loved the music. He couldn't understand everything that it said, but he really liked the music. And I told him the lyrics, and when he was in the hospital, I would sing this song for him. So it became something very special for us. And one time when he came back from the hospital, I took a picture with him on the mango tree. And I kind of took the picture for the song. Like, I wanted a picture that reflected what the song meant for me. So actually, I will move forward to this one to show the picture. So that's that picture that we took that day. So that's basically what we have here on the portrait. And the blue color here represents the morpho butterfly, which is kind of the symbol that we use for my dad. And then the blackberries are just for the family name. In Spanish, Blackberry is Mora, which is our last name. So I wanted to put that in there. I feel like it looks nice with the piece. So I wanted to introduce some of those blackberries there. The blackberries were a struggle because I was always thinking about blackberries, but I first drew grapes. And when I started painting them, I was like, these are grapes, these are not blackberries. So I had to go through and it was already painted in blue. So I had to put like white to give myself more space to put in more circles, and then turn it into a blackberry and add the leaves and all of that. So in this piece, that took me longer than the portrait to just get these blackberries to look like blackberries. But I think they are blackberries for me. I don't see grapes anymore. And the portrait, actually, I did it pretty quick because I was just like so inspired and just feeling, like trying something new. And this was the first time that I attempted to draw a person like this. And it's definitely something that I want to, explore more and practice more. But I am happy with the result that I got in this one. And I actually, at the beginning, when I sketched this piece, this is like the only sketch that I have. And I was putting something else inside. I just took a reference from an image on the web, and I was trying to go with that. And it didn't feel right, I don't know who those people are. So I wanted to feel like that was me and my dad in there. So then I remembered the picture, and I gave it a try. And I'm glad I did, because yeah, definitely it feels more special for me knowing that that is a portrait of an actual picture that I had with my dad. And that's it. Yeah, thank you for listening, and also thanks to my peers and Heather. Having this journey with all of you was just wonderful, and I feel like we all learned from each other and supported each other. Our conversations in WhatsApp are so extensive. Even yesterday at night, I was like, I'm so nervous about tomorrow. And then I woke up today to messages of encouragement. So I feel like it is priceless to have a team like that, to have friends like this that have the same passion that I have, that have gone through the same few months with me. So it's been wonderful, and working with Heather was also amazing. Dorothy asked me who I wanted as a mentor, and I was like, are you really telling me I can pick? Like, I can tell you names of people that I admire and that I don't even dream with having as a mentor. And inside the names, I put Heather. And I couldn't believe it when Dorothy told me that Heather had accepted to be part of the journey and be my mentor and the mentor for Mabel and Rachel. And I'm very grateful. It's really been a wonderful experience. And that's it.
Thank you, Nathalie. That was a wonderful presentation. And many times, I'm close to tears because there's just such a gentleness. I think, later on, Nathalie, you need to read the chat because a lot of people have been commenting as you're presenting. And a lot of us, feel your heart, feel your sincerity. There is just such a gentleness in you, Nathalie. And I'm just so thankful that you're part of this journey because your spirit, your determination, your courage to try things you've never done before, just go for it. Never mind, it's a mistake, and it's just beautiful. And I just want to, tell you that I feel that you are a treasure, you are a gem, and you're going to be recognized as such, that you will be a national treasure. So yeah, I really think so because you have so much heart, and what you bring, to your art is just very precious. So maybe Heather, you wanna, say something. I know you're also close to tears.
I did really well, Nathalie, not crying through your presentation until the very end. But it's just infectious. Your passion absolutely has pushed you forward in this whole journey. And I think I typed in the chat that she was fearless. Like, she had never tried gilding. She had never really fully explored watercolors, and she's working from a Daniel Smith dot card. And we take for granted that in our studios we can just go and get a bigger piece of paper, but these are things that were just not at hand. And I told the story to Dorothy of how she was waiting for her gilding supplies, and when they came, it's like Christmas, and here we have these gilding supplies and we can use them now. And honestly, I think the shot that I nearly lost, started to cry, was watching you work outside. And I see so much of myself because before this studio was built, I would literally carry my work out to my garden so I could hear the birds, or I could be outside and not in my little Harry Potter cupboard under the stairs where I worked in almost darkness. But you shared your passion, and your passion absolutely propels you forward. And honestly, there will be no stopping you, Nathalie. And I can't tell you how proud I am of all these ladies and the wonderful journey. And this was hard work. There's no, getting around how hard this work was, but I'm so incredibly proud of you, Nathalie. And I know you were up late working on your presentation. You did a brilliant, brilliant job. That's all I can hold together, Dorothy. I thought I did pretty good. Yeah. Well done.
You're so
Well
sweet,
done.
Heather. You're gonna make me cry.
Oh, don't cry.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for everything, for your support. It's really been such a nice experience, and the encouragement, those words that you're telling me and that Dorothy mentioned will definitely be a big motivation. I feel very passionate about this learning journey, and you know, having people to look up to like you, Heather, is very important. And you know, I see your dedication, how you tell us you sometimes stay up until midnight preparing a class or just doing something. It makes me feel motivated to put on the work, you know, like why doing quick little art that will take me nowhere, you know, that will not make me grow. So I really feel encouraged to put on the work, give it all the hours that I need to give it to express myself and actually grow on this beautiful art. So thank you for being an inspiration.
It was my honor and my pleasure. Well done.
Yay. Yeah. Nathalie Actor is sharing in the chat that she remembers you in the previous meetings, and that you being new to calligraphy, your struggles of not having a community in your country. And it's amazing to see how you have grown and that you're an inspiration to everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember that too, that you were, you know, you didn't have community at the time. You were feeling like alone in your country with pointed pen, you know, and I remember telling you, hey, you know, you've got us now, we're here. Yeah, so I'm really very grateful. Thank you, Heather. You've done such an amazing, you know, you've been such an amazing mentor to Nathalie, and I really appreciate. Yeah. Do the other co-mentees want to chime in on your friend?
Well, I would like to add a bit.
Yes. Yes, Mabel.
Over the weeks of being mentored by Heather, there were a few weeks that I feel like I don't know what to do. I have nothing to share. But Nathalie just comes in every week with new work to show, and I'm like, wow, she's just like a powerhouse with her works. Like literally, we had to hand in a weekly, kind of like a weekly homework, and she just hands in every week without fail. And she's just amazing. Every week she shows not only like her progress, she has a final artwork to share. And I just admire her resilience in doing that every week, because even for me, I kind of like, I told Heather, it's like, Heather, I'm just like hitting a roadblock this week and I don't have anything to share, but Nathalie just comes in with really amazing work. So good job, Nathalie.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
really have to agree with Mabel on that one. And that was what I wanted to say as well. Definitely throughout the whole process, Nathalie was like a powerhouse of like, you know, inspiration and just her and sheer enthusiasm. I think all of y'all can see that, and anybody who speaks to her about her art can see that she's so enthusiastic and passionate. And definitely I know that it will take you far. And what really amazed me, as it has amazed all of you guys, is that how fast she picks things up. She really has this natural flair and talent for something new. And I was really amazed by the week that she tried to study the acanthus leaves, because those for me were a challenge. And I was like, you know, I don't know how to form the curves and everything, but she was like, oh, I'm going to study acanthus leaves this week. And then within a week, the next week, she was like, here are my lovely acanthus leaves. And I was like, you look like you've been doing this for years, not just for weeks, you know? So yeah, definitely just so amazing. So proud of you, Nathalie. These are such amazing pieces of work, and you, rightfully so, you should be so proud of them. Really great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a process, a busy year, but it was really a wonderful learning experience, and to also see the work that Rachel and Mabel were presenting was also inspiring for me, and I think we all learn from each other as well.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, I just wanted to add that, you know, sometimes when we think about an exhibition, we feel that, okay, only the, I mean, usually in art galleries and art houses, they will feature those people who are like saleable, or people who are like, very established artists. And I feel that I do not, I don't wish to do that. I feel that, everybody has a beginning point, and the more you produce, the more you exhibit, the more you practice, the more you show your art to the world, wherever you are in your development, you can only get better from there. And I think that it's really wonderful, Heather, that you have helped these ladies who are, most of them have started calligraphy very, very late. They've had like maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And it's so important to have that foundation, where at the beginning, somebody kind of set the guardrails in place and say, hey, you can do this, or hey, this is a way to develop, this is a process. And I'm just so grateful that they have had you, Heather, as their trusted, mentor, and that you were able to show them, what to do and how they can develop. So I do know that, ladies, you're at the beginning. It doesn't end here, I think that what Heather has deposited within you, it can go deeper and you can go further. So I'm really very excited to see, where you are going to take it from here. So yeah. Does anybody? Yes, Heather.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Dorothy. And I mean, they were a joy. They made it easy. They really did, all three of them. And I agree that this is just the beginning. It's a page change for them, and they're going to work on new pages and new papers and things like that. But we will keep our conversations going, because I'm not ready to let them go. They have been a delight, an absolute delight.
Wonderful. We have a question for Nathalie, and the question is, how do you juggle when you have to submit more than one piece? Like, how do you know which piece to start with? A good question.
Yeah, I think I just go with what I feel more excited about creating. If I'm like excited about this piece, I will put all my time into it. But if I'm like, like I'm not so sure this is going to work, then I might not feel that like encouraged or that happy about investing my time on the piece. So I just go with whatever feels closer to my heart at the moment, whatever I'm most excited about exploring. And I take it one at a time, like it's impossible to do 2 pieces at the same time. I could just focus on one, get it done, and then do the other one. So in this journey, when I finished like my own, like not exhibition pieces, my own like exploration, I finished with those 2 illuminated letters, the G and the J. And that's when I got this first idea to do the collection of flowers of Costa Rica. And I knew that I wanted to do the love piece, but this one, I really wanted to try it. I really wanted to see that finished, like put what I had on my head in the paper. So I was excited about it, and it was something new, and I had only done a couple, but it is what I really wanted to try. So I went for it. And I didn't start exploring the initials for the second piece until I was completely done with this one. So I think that is important. If you try to like do a lot, you won't make it, or you will get frustrated or overwhelmed. So I think it is important to just go with what you really want to try and focus on that, and put all your time and effort into it, because you probably have a deadline, but focus and then, move forward. And for me, I did those 2. And then at the end, I remember that at the weekend before the deadline, Heather told us, like, you might get, inspired at the end and do a piece, and I laughed and I was like, that's not gonna happen. I can barely deal with what I have planned. And then the night before, I just, got into doing this piece. I don't even have process pictures for the DP because I was too invested on it in the middle of the night. But yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Nathalie or Heather or the team? Can unmute and speak or type in the chat.
I think there's a question in the chat, Dorothy.
And is there? How do you manage to decide which idea to be applied to which piece? Yeah, okay, good question.
Is it similar to the last one? Like, I'm not sure I understand.
Like, I guess it means like, how do you decide on the?
Let me explain.
Imelda, you want to clarify? Yes.
Yes. Because you make so many pieces, and I can see that each pieces has different type of. I mean, each pieces has its characteristic, and it's different from one with another. So I would like to know how you manage, because I believe that you have so many ideas there. It's not just what we see in the pieces, because there is only several pages here, but I'm very sure that you have a lot of ideas there in your brain. So how did you manage to decide which color or which shape or which gilding on which side to be applied onto each of that, so you can finish it like this?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, well, at first, I think that I take a lot of ideas, like from music, from just what surrounds me, my family, flowers, like that very first piece that I did with the quote and the corners with the flowers. I was in a volcano in Costa Rica. Like, I went on this small trip, and I saw these flowers everywhere on my way to the volcano. And on that week, I was like, I need to create the first piece for the mentoring. What am I going to create? So I had that on my mind all week. Like, I need to find something to inspire me, because it's not like I just sit and, something comes to mind. I need to grab inspiration from somewhere. So that day I took pictures of these flowers, and I was like, that's it. I want those flowers in the composition. So then with the flowers, since it was about nature, I just looked for quotes about nature, and I found one that was really nice, that I then realized was my brother's favorite quote, and I had no idea. But that's how I get my ideas. Like, with the love piece, I really like that song, and I really wanted to put it down into like an art piece. So I think that's just the way I go about it. Like, I try to be very conscious of my surroundings. If I'm going on a trip, I'm looking for inspiration, like thinking I want to find something that I can put into my art, so I'm always like trying to find something like a butterfly, a shape, something on Instagram. Like, of course, we're not going to go and copy what someone else is doing, but we can be inspired by the work of other artists. Like, I always see how Heather does this kind of ribbon on her letters. So yesterday I was like, I want to do a letter that is kind of with the ribbons that Heather does. So I did something like that, and that was my only idea for the letter, and then I designed from there. So you can just grab ideas from other people, from nature, from music, from anything, like from someone a quote that you see on Instagram or anything, and then you find elements that go together with that quote. So I think that's the way I get like all of the ideas. And then once I have the idea, I always sketch like very freely. A sketch without caring about it being pretty. My sketches are always like very messy. So I just go in and I started sketching, like with the one for the flowers. I started with just sketching flowers, not letters, but just the elements, so that I could then inspire myself from those first sketches. So I think that's important for me. I can't just go in to the watercolor paper because I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I start there, I sketch, I try a few ideas, I erase, I do it again, until I get to a point where I'm happy with it. And during that sketching part, I decide some stuff, you know, like where am I going to gild? That I need to know it since the beginning. So I will decide the gilding areas, or what will be painted, or if I want to add something with the pointed pen at the end. So I try to make some of those decisions at that point, and I decide the colors until the very end because I'm afraid of picking colors. So I always just go for it. I ink, I gild, I do whatever I need to do. And then at the end, I see the piece like from distance, and I'm like, what colors go with this? And then I go through all of that activity, you know, with the iPad, or just doing a sample, or I put like some little dots in a piece of watercolor and see what works together. And I always start painting with the color choices that I feel more comfortable with, like that I'm 100% sure I want this letter blue. So I will do those first. And then, you know, the ones that I'm not so sure about will go at the end, you know, just with what feels right at the moment. So yeah, I think that's the way I
Finish
go about
one piece first, and then you will move on to another one after you finish.
it. Yes, yeah, one at a time for sure.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I find it interesting that Nathalie's process is very emotive, very intuitive, and a lot of it is how it feels to you at the moment, what inspires. And I mean, I was just in a sharing that Bakit did, and Bakit's approach is very logical, very intellectual, very studied, you know. So I do think that different artists bring to the process a different approach, and maybe there isn't like a formula. So it really is, I think it very much depends on the individual, right, Heather? I mean, the process for every artist is different.
Oh, absolutely. We all think differently and we plan differently. And I think I'm a very big believer in go with what works. And for me, I don't have a logical bone in my body. I have to make the mistake on the paper and then, oh, that doesn't work, and get the eraser out and erase it. So I think you just have to kind of flow into your style of developing things, and just that's how you're wired, and that's how you're going to produce your artwork.
Yeah, and because it's like that, I feel that until we get into a productive mode, we don't really know or discover our style. I mean, we can sit in a corner and just keep practicing our calligraphy, but until we start to say, I'm going to produce a finished piece, I'm going to make something with my calligraphy, I think until then, we don't really start to explore and discover what really is our style, right?
Oh, I agree. And that's the brilliance of having an exhibit at the end of a mentoring journey, because it's one thing to have a mentor come along board, but give them a deadline and say, okay, well, you gotta put something out at the end of this whole thing. And then the fire starts and the burning starts and the passion and the inspiration and the desperation. And you see what you can produce in a finite period of time.
Yeah, so true. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
There
we
is
have come
magic in
to
the deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magic
The
in
moment
dead
they
of
said
night.
23rd of September, I was like, oh my God, let's get
There's
started.
there's panic
Yeah,
in deadlines.
there was
Yeah.
panic for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Elif is saying the bond between the whole team is very beautiful. I can see Heather's excitement and love as a mentor, as a friend. The path you have overcome with all its all its beauties and challenges is very inspiring, and Elif is very proud of us all. Yay! Well, we've come to the end of the hour, so I'm gonna just stop the recording here.